Pete Feenstra, rock in your world. On Get Ready to Rock Radio.
This is the Pete Feenstra feature for Get Ready to Rock Radio. Welcome to the show. Tonight I'm speaking to Leicester-born, German-based British blues veteran guitar player Mr. Mick Pini and the innovative independent producer and multi-instrumentalist Craig Marshall, otherwise known as Audio 54. In 2021, the duo came together to work on Mick's career compilation album called Backtrack. They followed that up with the exploratory Way Ahead, and now comes a brand new release called Papa Voodoo, which is being released both digitally and as a physical CD. It incorporates blues, funk, fusion, Latino and even reggae, within the sonic landscape rooted in Mick's aching guitar tone and his baritone vocal, and it's framed by Craig's use of digital technology. Described by Eric Clapton as the natural successor to Peter Green, Mick Pini continues to innovate and embrace contemporary music. Okay, let's play the title track of the new album. This is Mick Pini and Papa Voodoo.
Given name. Still they call me Papa Voodoo when they know it ain't my name. When I raise my hand, nothing ever stays the same. Papa Voodoo, pleased to meet you, though that's not my given name. Still they call me Papa Voodoo when they know it ain't my name. 'Cause when I raise my hand, nothing ever stays the same. Gotta have a darkness midnight, scarlet black as silk, long, tall, and lonesome, with a skin as white as milk. Caress you like a spider, a single kiss will see it through. Got eyes of cold black marble, looking dead at you. Still they call me Papa Voodoo, though that's not my given name. 'Cause when I raise my hand, given name. Still they call me Papa Voodoo when they know it ain't my name. When I raise my hand, nothing ever stays the same. Got a hot darkness midnight, scarlet black as silk, long, tall, and lonesome, with a skin as white as milk. Caress you like a spider, a single kiss will see it through. Got eyes of cold black marble, looking dead at you. Still they call me Papa Voodoo, but though that's not my given name. 'Cause when I raise my hand, nothing is the same.
That was Mick Pini and Papa Voodoo, title track of a brand new album on Audio 54 Records via Cadiz Music Distribution. So welcome to the show, Mick Pini and Craig Marshall. Okay, Mick, let's start with you. Papa Voodoo's got the album has got 11 tracks, and it could almost have been a double album, really, I suppose. So did you have a lot of material coming into this album?
We've always got a lot of material. Basically, it's a bit like having a deposit account in a bank.
Yeah.
You come back later and you find out it's a different thing altogether. And you think, why do we use that? Or we might not use it, or we'll try things on that as well. And again, there's a bit of both, really. And like you're saying, you know, there is a lot of material there, but yeah, you're right, it would probably be like a double album.
So that wasn't originally planned, it just kind of grew like that.
Right, that's right, Pete, yeah.
Excellent. So let's move on to the track then, Papa Voodoo. Where did you come up with those words?
It was basically an idea I'd got. I've always been a massive fan of the kind of blues, roots music that's come out of New Orleans. So that's Dr. John, Alan Toussaint, Little Feat tagged into that, and later on Robert Palmer. And I just love that kind of groove, that kind of, shall we say, bit of a kind of a mystique about it, you know, and the Papa Voodoo is Mick's actually done some research on that, and he tells me he was actually a real person. He was like a kind of a medicine man, more than anything. And I bumped into Mick. He was actually doing a tour of the UK, come back from Germany, and we bumped into each other. And I just said, I'll look you up on Facebook, I think it was. So I did, and just said, hey, you know, do you fancy putting some guitar and a voice onto this track I'm working on? And he said, yeah. And that was kind of like the first thing we ever did. And we always loved the track, but I just felt we'd never really done it justice in terms of the kind of the music side, the production side, which is obviously down to me. And when we were working on this new album, obviously I'd made some investments in the studio that we've got, and I just thought, you know what, I reckon we could do a really better job of that track. So basically brought it back in and started working on it again, and I was really pleased with the results. It's, you know, it seems like it's got a new lease of life, really, almost. So yeah, even though it was the first thing we did, and when I played it to the distribution company, they loved it, and they said, you know, it really ought to be. It's a really strong track. It really ought to be the album title track. So we said, yeah, fine, let's put it in.
So you started your relationship really during lockdown, and I guess that meant that most of the original music was quite studio bound. So are you looking to play some of this live then, Mick, at some stage? Okay, you're both originally from Leicester, so where did you first meet, and how did you originally hook up musically?
So basically, I met Mick around a guy's flat, would you believe? A guy that lived a couple of doors down from. I was still with my mum and dad. I was only a young kid, and Mick came into the guy's flat just on a social thing, where musicians gathered. And as I say, I was a young kid. He seemed like this big rock star to me at the time. And yeah, that was the first time we met. And then it was just after that, it was around the local live scene in Leicester and the Midlands, and we sort of bump into each other and just sort of say, hi, how you doing, and what have you. And I think Mick, just being the consummate musician and lover of music that he is, he took an interest in a lot of the up and coming young musicians and bands in the local scene. And he, you know, we'd go to watch his gigs, and he'd come and watch ours, and it was just that kind of really sort of informal, you know, organic kind of, and we were never sort of like, you know, hanging out together, but we'd just bump into each other and, you know, hey man, I like what you're doing, and oh, thanks, and yeah, you know, I like what you're doing, and just that kind of relationship, really.
Yeah, Mick, and so who were some of the other people in Leicester at the time?
Well, one of the main ones was John Southgate, bass player. Craig was regularly in and out with his band, Craig Marshall. There was Nick Murphy, who was a drummer. He was playing in different bands.
And who was the one at the shop?
Michael Downey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it would in, what's the street I used to go to school? Gotzel Street in Leicester. And it was next to my old junior school.
And they were all part of the kind of music scene at the time?
Yeah, all kinds. They were into all sorts of modern music. Me and John were very much into Little Feat and stuff like that, very cool, the blues, you know. Even to this day, he's living on a boat and a rag, and he says, "It's all your bloody fault." I says, "What's that?" He says, "Well," he says, "I'm playing bass." I says, "Well, you're one of the finest bass players around, mate. What's wrong with you?" He said, "Well, you got me to play." He said, "I could play." I said, "Well, of course you can. You played with loads of good people. What's wrong with you? You played with me, haven't you?
There you go.
Yeah, well, you sacked me." I said, "Yeah, because you're unreliable at times. I come and pick you up for a gig. You said you've got to take a speaker out and clean your teeth and things." So I said, "We've got to be in Sheffield in an hour. Do you know how far Sheffield is?" You know.
And that's what you had to deal with in Leicester at the time.
The thing is, I'm always getting on Mick's back. He's got a great live band, and I say, you know, you've got to start playing these songs live, because they, you know, even though they are originated in the studio and obviously, like you say, Pete, are studio based, they will sound fantastic live. You know, it was always our intention to create an album that had that kind of live feel to it. Yeah. You know, and throughout that we've used live loops, live effects. You know, there are real people playing on it, real people singing on it, and so, you know, hopefully with a bit of rehearsal, I think Mick's hoping to get some festival work in the next sort of 12 months in support of the album. And I'm sure it's going to sound fantastic. And obviously, it'll intersperse with his current live sets, so that he's got some standards there and some tracks that he's been playing for a while from his previous albums. But this, I'm sure it'll actually slot straight into the set. I'm hoping so. Anyway, I'm looking forward to watching it.
And sticking with you a minute, Craig. Your Audio 54 imprint has put you on the map as a producer and a musical artist in your own right, and now you appear to have branched out into a label as well. So tell us what plans you got for that.
Well, that basically, it was almost by default. It was a discussion we had with a distribution company, and they said they'd prefer to work with a label rather than an individual artist. And I said, well, that's fine. I obviously write and record independently of Mick, and there are some other acts that have approached me, and I've said, yeah, I'd be happy to work with you. And the whole idea is that it will be almost like a cooperative, so very much an independent offering. So where the artists, actually create the work, they finance it. And then we've now got, because Cadiz are very slow sort of promoting what we actually generate and put out. So I'm hoping that we can get some independent artists. I know I've had in discussions with a couple of people already, and they're very keen on sort of working together. So hopefully it'll grow from there. You know, the collaboration that we've got with Mick can actually expand into, obviously, the stuff I put out independently, but also with other acts as well. So
okay, lovely. We'll all look forward to that. So, let's play another track from the record. This is called Duck Soup. Let's talk about Duck Soup then, that we just played, and what a great track. Great, yeah, great, I know it was, yeah, but what a great track that is. But you made it a kind of a subtle combination of Jeff Beck and Frank Zappa, so...
Yeah, you were right, yeah.
Did that track more or less dictate to you that you needed to use wah-wah on it then?
Well, it was meant to be another track, like I was saying earlier on. The original track, it stands on its own anyway. You could take that one out as well. And if you know, I mean, you heard it. You know what it was an instrumental. But it was interesting because I was playing with a wah-wah on it. And some people like that kind of free-form wah-wah playing, even though it's just guitar playing, you know. I put some strings behind it, you know, and I'm not a string man, but I thought, well, with me having that kind of feel for that number, I thought, maybe we could put some, you know, brass and things like that. You know, not too much. You know, I'm a less more man. Less means more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So aside from the older tracks, like which you've redone, like Title Track and Blues for Peter Green and Theme for Icarus, were all the other songs written round about the same time span then?
Well, Theme for Icarus goes back to '97. Peter Green starts with me mum and Peter, at first my mum, to 2000, 99, sorry, and then when Peter Green died, I listened to a tape I did 20 years ago and thought, that's the number I want. And I thought, this is a tribute to Peter. Not only that, I just thought to my mum as well. And basically, that's the idea behind that. And Theme for Icarus was what it means, you know, the guy who first tried to couldn't attempt to fly at the end. You know,
yeah, but I mean, but what about the rest of the songs though? Were they from the same sort of time span, or?
I don't know. I hear some beats and things, and I think, we could do something with that. Well, you're limited when you're doing it in kind of soft ways, which I've had this conversation all the time, and really, if you've got a free-form drummer, you can really get it can really make it sound really, 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 you know, really.
So really, some of the tracks that were down to what you were able to do at the time, and then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You said it all yeah, exactly, Pete. You know, and that was my only thing, you know, with software. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it really got me through. You know, and I've got to give it to you and Craig. pulled me through because I was at a lost end. I thought, what shall I do now?
Oh,
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. You can do quite a few new things, and having yourself giving us some words and things like that's really helped me, because I'm no songwriter or word master, but sometimes I can come up with something. But I've really enjoyed doing the Memphis one, because I thought I love them words, and I played it to Al. He says, "Who's done that?" It's Pete, my radio man. His words, and I've just put the music to it. He says, "It's a beautiful song." He says, "Yeah, I like his words."
And thinking about the different musical stars on the album, I guess this is Craig again, but do you approach building different tracks in the same way, or does Mick's playing sometimes, or his ideas sometimes take you in a different direction?
There's no golden rule, really. I mean, we tend to, and Mick, in that way, I have to compliment Mick, because he's very flexible as a musician. He's often said, just let's let the song breathe. Let's let the song bring out the character of the song. And if that means it goes to more of a funk feel, or a soulful feel, or Americana, or reggae, then he's happy to sort of like just accommodate that in. And it's basically, I think we've always said blues is a feeling. It's not necessarily a genre, although I'm sure some people would disagree. But I think there are blues songs within. You could even say within classical. It's just that sort of emotional connection, I think, with the audience. So we've not really sort of said, right, this is what we're doing. We are a blues act. We're not going to do anything other than that. We've just let it breathe, really.
Yeah, like it does on that track. Let's play an example of what you're just talking about, letting it breathe. This is a great instrumental shuffle called Mornington Crescent 69. That was Mick Pini and Mornington Crescent 69, taken from the Papa Voodoo album. What a lovely groove that is, Mick, and it's got all those kind of keyboards and horns on there. Now, you've always told me you'd love to play more gigs with a big band with horns, and I suppose that's a good example of what you'd like to do.
If you ever hear big band, don't have to be well known, but I love big band sound, you know. I saw Ray Charles one night, and I couldn't believe it. They were doing George and all that sort of stuff with his road sound, and then it was in the middle of this blues number. I can't remember what the blues number was, but this guitarist just stood up with a 3-3-5 in a suit, and he played this most amazing solo. I went, bloody hell, I'd love to have done that. It was amazing. It was I thought, what's he doing? You better do something good. He was brilliant.
Yeah. So, go on.
Example.
Yeah.
Robbie Ford is a great feeler. When he's playing behind people like Dewey Witherspoon, I would be like that. When he's doing his own, he's not so, he's good, he's still good, but, when you play a bigger artist, you tend to lay off. Less means more again,
Yeah. So tell us the story about the song title then, and how it relates to the music.
Well, when I was hanging around London during the 60s, 67, 69, 70s, I was never had any money. I just went out with my guitar and played, and 77 I was living in London again. And that was another story, but I'll start with the first one. 67, 68 and 69 I was sleeping in, what do they call them? Squatters' flats, because I couldn't get a place, or I'd end up on Hyde Park. But I had to end up at Goose Street, and I thought, Nick, was it Goose Street? Or no, it was...
Mornington Crescent near Goose Street, yeah.
And I thought, what am I going to do? I've got to get from here to Notting Hill. Bloody hell, I got no money. I'll bugger it. What's that tunnel there? Oh, there's a tunnel where the works come out. So I thought, well, I've got to skip this. I've got to do that. So I did that. And I did that because, if you ain't got any money. And then as I was going down these steps, spiral steps, which are gone now, I'm sure, I heard these boys going, he went that way. I went, what? They kept on getting faster. So I ran past these and I thought, oh, I shouldn't have done this. You start blaming yourself, don't you? When you silly prat on, I didn't want to walk, it's miles from there. And by the time I got to the bottom, the train was just in with the doors open. I jumped in, and I could see the police, 3 or 4 guys coming, looking, there it is, and the door shut. I went, bye.
Okay, let's play another track. This is called Gotta Get My Way Back Home.
inside door. You might be out, what I don't know. Oh yeah, I gotta go. It's too much. I've gotta get my way home. I gotta go. It's too much. I've gotta get my way home. I've gotta get my way I've gotta get my way I've gotta get my way I've gotta get my way
That was Mick Pini and Gotta Get My Way Back Home from Papa Voodoo. Very original opening to that track. Sounds like either a Jew's harp or didgeridoo. What? So, again, very eclectic, that track.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Again, when we started that, it was very much a traditional kind of blues, acoustic bass blues song with electric guitar as well, and Mick added his ideas to it.
Okay.
But there was basically again, this is right where we sort of like we've got a phrase that we use, that Mick and I use. We said, we'll just put that on the shelf for a month or two.
Yeah.
Okay. And then come back to it. And when you revisit things and you listen to it fresh, sometimes you can hear other elements and other aspects of the song, and it just felt like the acoustic guitar was leading it down a more of a kind of almost like a world music feeling.
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah.
If I can reference kind of what Robert Plant's done recently, some of his more, so he's using different instruments in that kind of blues groove. So that's what we went for, and we got a kind of John Bonham sounding drum that comes in halfway through, and just
Certainly does, yeah.
From that, So yeah, again, we're kind of referencing other types of music within that groove.
Get Ready to Rock's David Randall, in his review of the album, he said this album should really be heard in a well-oiled late-night club situation. So is that the kind of vibe that you're looking for?
Possibly right. Yeah, you put it well there, Pete.
Well, it wasn't me, it was David Randall, his review, but
No,
yeah.
from what you've said, would
Yeah.
you agree with me then? Would you agree with me?
Yeah, well, it's you got into it, like you do with all the stuff you do. You got.
It has got some effect in that kind of thing, again. We can go into the ins and outs of that number, but yeah, you're right,
Okay, Spark, now that's
that's
great
changed as well.
Yeah.
I like the first one. This one's a bit more sophisticated, but fine. I mean, it's Craig's thing, and he's happy with it.
This is called Spark.
To play
Mick Pini and Spark from Papa Voodoo on Audio 54. Now, Mick, you're an accompanist on that track. Is that the first time you've been an accompanist rather than a soloist? Well, I mean, you kind of he's singing it, and you just do the solo on the track. Whereas normally,
the solo on the old one, all he did is put that same solo on what he's just done already.
Right.
That's basically. But I mean, I like the old one because it's got a kind of. It is a bit like a traffic number.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got part of the Latino thing. It's a kind of jam feel.
Well, he just picked it up from me, and I just says, well, I wouldn't use that, and that's probably why he went into something else, because he was aware that it could sound like Stevie Ray, so good of Craig to think that way, but still got the old number. It's great.
So there's a lovely kind of convergence there of sound. Sometimes it sounds like a violin, and other times a guitar. So what was going on there?
That's all he's doing.
That's
Craig's doing. Because I don't have any say in the mix, because I don't do mixing.
Right.
I just send what. And for example, when he sent this new one about voodoo, and I was thinking, well, the words were okay. They're okay, and I was thinking, there's a good story to it. And like you said many times, just go a bit more outward rather than stay to the same kind of thing, as Craig would say. I say, well, I agree to that. But on my mind, I just always think, I'd really like to play some real good blues. You know what I mean?
Well, on that very subject, on Cold Day in Memphis, I can imagine that being a live favourite, really, as part of your set list. But does working with Craig then open up new possibilities for you? Or
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Oh, most definitely. I mean, Craig's a good guy, and he's got a good way, and if he understands me sometimes, and sometimes not, But for an example, Peter Green, shouldn't be anything in it. It should be as it is, the number. But he's added things, and I'm just thought, what's that doing there? I don't want it in. And that was, Craig didn't do anything about it. He just says, well, it's there. I wasn't keen on that, because if you want the real heart of it, it's got to be empty. So less means more.
Again, come back to that, yeah.
What I'm saying, if you start messing around doing all these weird sounds behind it, it hasn't got that momentum of sadness and happiness as one, It sounds like someone's walking in and then just putting it in, and you hear these odd noises, and you think, no, I don't want that. I just want
sometimes it works. I mean, yeah. Okay, mate. Let's play another track now called "Cold Day in Memphis."
Standing on the corner, I got nowhere to go. Only way is forward. When you've broken every rule, she told me this morning, got leaving undermined. All my hopes were fading, the future's hard to find. It's a cold day in Memphis, and the rain is pouring down. Cold day in Memphis. I'm not warm, can't be found. They say time is a healer, but you can't heal those times. together. Now I sit here crying. When will it ever end? And it's a cold day in Memphis, and the rain pouring down. Cold, cold day in Memphis. I'm a woman, can't be found. Cold day, cold day, a cold day in Memphis, and the rain is falling down. A cold, cold day. I'm a woman. I'm a woman, can be found.
That was Mick Pini and Cold Day in Memphis from the Papa Voodoo album, brand new release. August the 23rd it's coming out on Audio 54 via Cadiz. Now Craig, I imagine it's the first time you were a musician yourself in the 80s, did a lot of stuff, but I imagine this is the first time you certainly produced blues. Did that bring any new challenges to you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, my background was always kind of from a more of a, I don't know, a rock, pop, sort of soul and funk background, a bit of a mixture there. So I never really worked within the blues framework, although, you know, obviously I played it, you know, in various different bands. But it was, like I say, it didn't take me long, especially under the tutelage of somebody who's well versed in the blues as Mick is, to understand what the music is about. And that's not necessarily having that 12-bar, 3-chord shift. It's more about the way in which you portray the music, and the emotion behind it. So that once I got that understanding, it just became almost like second nature to start working within that.
Now, this album's got 14 tracks in all, including 2 bonus tracks, and the very thing you're talking about is probably part of that electronic remix called Jazztronica.
It's based on the Memphis one.
There's a lot going on there.
But I like the idea of what he's doing. Yeah.
But you finished the album with a kind of celebratory reggae track called You Better. So I could imagine people playing that on the beach, you know, on the old track.
It's a great classic. He says to me, I don't want Are You Blind? I said, it's great. I said, it's great the way you did it, mate. You know,
Are You
this
Blind?
is another classic side of he won't bring them out, but it means saying, look, doesn't matter who's bloody singer, you made the song, I think your voice is pretty good, you know. And so he did. I got him to do Are You Blind on the EP, and then You Better went on, and I thought, well, it's an example of him coming from another area as well, you know, even though, like he was saying, he liked his 80s stuff and all that. Well, I was more into the really, like you, early stuff, you know, like Quicksilver and the great lyrics they had, you know, like What You Gonna Do About Me, if you're prepared to stand up, then be prepared to be shot down. You know, what lyrics? You think, what?
Well, it mirrored the times, didn't it? You know.
Yeah, this is it. And they're still there, though, aren't they? You know, in that kind of sense. You know, our old traditional things. We were enthusiastic about the bands they went, oh, the hippie bands. Yeah, okay, so what? They were saying something, you know, and it was really good stuff, you know. Even Jefferson Aeroplane didn't make all great albums, but a solo album and White Rabbit was some great stuff on that. You know, she was really quite good. Very slick, you know, unusual. And like a few others I could mention, you know, Mark Thornton, bloody hell, you know, I've never heard a voice like that. I think Freddie got close to her, you know, in the sense of singing, you know, Freddie King.
Yeah.
That's what I like. That's what I liked about the blues, because they could express themselves in their limited way, but so much was coming out of so much less changes in the music. You know, it was the feel that came across, the moodiness and the happiness also, you know, and they can do that, artists of their calibre, you know.
Absolutely so. Right, well, on that very subject, which is really what we're talking about, is feel, I'm going to play out with a great track called Blues for Peter Green, which is the title, like the title track before, you've recorded it before. This has been great. Just give us your website before we go, brand new website you've got.
Yeah, well, that's obviously www.audio54, so audio54.net, and basically the album is available there to listen to and to download or to buy the CD from.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Craig. Thanks, Mick, for being on the show again. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, let's play the track now. Blues for Peter Green. Enjoy this track, everybody. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Thank you.